record.
Making steps to greatness, I'ma place you as the payment. Chase it till I'm famous, I ain't playing with my payment. No, thinking after tetragram, 36 my method man. Holy of the Bethlehem, strike 'em holding heaven's hand. Rolling in the record breeze, rolling up my remedies. Floating, feeling heavenly, loathing from a better me. I ain't here to clear the air and show that nothing can compare. They see me and they stop and stare. Knowing how I hit them stairs, does it with no drums. See, I does it cause my tongue quick like some cunning cunnilingus. Does it for the digits like comma points and decimals. Achieving all these decimals, featuring it until I'm at the vestibule. Grab your golden testicles, your record in receptacles. Behind me, spectacle, right and so respectable.
I say fair and low and Hunter Thompson to this rap shit. Don't know where I'm going. Andy Kaufman with an Atlas. Flyer than a Boeing in the cockpit doing backflips.
Cactus, honing all my tactics. I see fear and loathing Hunter Thompson to this rap shit.
I'm going. Andy Kaufman with an Atlas.
Yo, it's the Chop It Up podcast, man. It's your boy Hawklyfe. I got another good one for you today. What you just heard, man. What you just heard was Thomas versus Kaufman by my special guest from Calvary, Canada, DOM, Dom of the D&D. Welcome, man.
Thanks for having me.
Oh no, man, it's dope for you to be here, man. It's my pleasure. We're gonna talk about this music, talk about the creative, all this. First and foremost, we're gonna get into the music. First, before we start, I'm gonna just let y'all know we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We at 681. Keep pushing, keep liking, commenting, subscribing. New content always come out. We just dropped a battle. Go check that out on YouTube if you haven't. KB versus Mr. Mumbles, Rookies versus Vet. Go check that out. So much going on. Roll to 1,000. Like, comment, subscribe. You do not want to miss out on the big giveaway after the 1,000 subscriber mark. 4,000 watch hour mark. You do not want to miss it. With that being said, let's get straight into the music, man. Canada is definitely in the building, and we're gonna talk about the vibe because it's such a vibe. Um, get straight into Thomas versus Kaufman. I believe that was a case in court, but tell us where your creative process came for making Thompson versus Kaufman.
So the way Thompson versus Kaufman actually came together was I was paired randomly because I was doing a sort of tournament style competition inside of RJB's collaborative Discord, and I got paired with a producer by the name of Bugger and Tech from the Lakeshore Disciples. And the way it came out was I just suggested a loop for Bugger to use. He made a beat out of it, and then Tech and I were bouncing off some ideas. And the way it came out was that Tech said that we should try and talk a little bit about the sort of fear and loathing we see in hip hop, and then we just started bouncing off ideas for his verse. He did his verse first, and I just thought, hey, if I'm gonna try and stand out on this track, I have to bring as many punchlines as I can to show that I am something worth fearing or something worth loathing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so what I just ended up doing is I just ended up thinking of how many punchlines and how many unique things I can say in my verse, so I can stand out as well as being next to Tech.
Absolutely. Shout out Tech from the Disciples. I actually interviewed them, so shout out to them. Definitely. Tell us. You also had you was big influenced by Reddit. Was part of the Reddit community.
Yeah.
Tell me how that being part of making hip hop ready community, how that has helped you grow as an artist.
So the way r slash making hip hop worked was I initially started in Freestyle Friday. I was just dicking around with all of the beats, and I was just like, any critical feedback appreciated. So I just ended up looking through, and they kept telling me, oh, hey, you need to mess around with your mixing a bit. So I just ended up getting a couple of extra plugins, mainly the ones from TDR Kotelnikov and the VD's de-esser, just to help me sound more like I'm not, some 12-year-old kid playing on his Xbox and clipping all the time.
Yeah.
And then flow wise, it was just a matter of consistency to make sure I was always hitting the kicks, I was always hitting the snares, I was making sure my rhymes were actually hitting in consistent places. That was just mainly a time-based thing where I would I would just every time I would make something for a cipher, I would try and listen write as much as I could,
Mm.
and just try and say to myself as much as I can. A little bit of scatting actually helped with that.
Yeah.
And then I just ended up trying to do this as consistently as possible. It's been about a year, maybe more, just a bit. I started doing these ciphers in March, just before the pandemic actually happened.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have several freestyles, several different you've been doing music for a while.
Yeah.
Um let's talk about ASPD.
Yeah. So the way ASPD actually worked was I was doing psychology in university at the time, and I just thought, hey, ASPD, antisocial personality disorder, the sort of disorder that I was learning about. I knew that I could definitely try and make a song emulating every aspect behind sort of the dark side of the issues behind it, like the sort of violent nature, the anti-society behavior that's usually associated with it, how sometimes it's innate, sometimes it's just very negative influences around you. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to emulate that as much as I could.
Yeah.
And then and then what really helped me out was I was looking through one of the collab calls in r slash making hip hop for a producer,
Mm.
and he just ended up sending me a couple of the stems to his beat, which I decided to put together a bit, and then I just ended up writing through the entire thing.
Um let's talk about, like we see you did do a lot of freestyles. One freestyle in particular was Speak Up Please, the freestyle.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
What
So the way that freestyle in particular, shout out to the homie I Can Cook for the whole beat. I just ended up using one of the beats that he made for his royalty free pack. I just ended up writing I just ended up having this rule where I would try and write as much as I could under 20 minutes. It didn't matter what I did.
Mhm.
I would just try and write as much as I could for 20 minutes, and then afterwards I would just try and record as much as I could without punching in, without any extra takes.
Mhm.
Then listen back, then redo it, and then just repeat the process over and over and over again until I got something I was comfortable with.
Absolutely. Um, how would you describe the hip hop scene in Canada compared
I'm
to you?
That is actually very interesting because I know that Ontario, Toronto in particular, are one of those cities in Canada where the hip hop scene is very, very strong. Whether it's battle rapping from King of the Dot
Mm-hmm.
to more mellow stuff, or to more mellow stuff like what Drake and The Weeknd do. But outside of that, Canada's sort of a ghost town. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
because there are only really two rappers that I know that have come out of Calgary. One
Mm.
of which went by the name of Beckham. I don't know what he's up to. I never really heard about his music outside of just some old rumors from a while ago.
Mm.
And another person by the name of Dolly Soul. He's a good friend of mine. Um, but he ended up going to Vancouver for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So I would say that Canada's a little bit it really depends on the cities you go to, because Calgary's hip hop scene,
Hmm.
although we do have a collective by the name of 10 to 10 Calgary that just promotes hip hop that comes out of the province. It's mainly a ghost town because 90% of the stuff they promote
Hmm.
is mainly outside of the city itself. It's mainly in places like Edmonton, Vancouver, Toronto. It's mainly where the larger cities are. Calgary's more of a folk alternative country place. It's not so it's not so much hip hop. It's not as popular as it is in places like Vancouver and Toronto. It's really a little bit of a ghost town. So the hip hop scene in Canada really all depends on where you go.
Yeah. So, tell me your top five artists in your playlist right now.
So so the top 5 artists that I currently have right now on repeat, um Griselda,
Mhm.
Joyner Lucas, Royce the 5'9", King ISO, and Eminem.
It's a nice list.
Yeah.
Anytime Eminem's in the list, that's a nice list. But
Yeah. Yeah.
to have his label mate was the 5'9" also on that list, that's really interesting because I feel like he one of those underrated artists that's
Yeah.
really lyrical. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's definitely 5'9" is one of those people who really makes you count how many syllables are in each line, which is something I started learning just before the pandemic began. I
Mhm.
was going through some of his older remixes, like the Bar Exam 3, Bar Exam 4, Bar Exam 2.5 ish. I would always just count how many syllables were in each line and then try and figure out which setups he's trying to use. Because most people, when they listen to 5'9", I feel like it's only because of the whole bad meets evil thing he had with them. But
Mhm.
then once you go outside of that and you start looking into albums like The Book of Ryan, The Allegory, you always have a very particular idea of where Royce is going to go with how he's going to flow over the beat and whatnot.
Mhm.
So so as it so usually with M, it would just be rhyme schemes. With 5'9", it would be syllable counts and how many setups you can do within those syllable counts.
Yeah, absolutely. You like I said, you've done a lot of collabs. Who would be your dream collab?
Like in general.
Yeah.
So one of the dream collabs I've always thought about for some lyrical, miracle, spiritual, individual type songs, I would love to have a verse from Token. I just
Mm,
listened to Dentures, and a verse with Joyner Lucas,
mm,
because I feel like both of those, they're the most substantial, but
yeah.
also the most lyrical at the same time. You
Mm,
can definitely you can definitely see that with some of Joyner's leaked stuff, and you can see that with some of Token's later stuff, especially his later stuff.
absolutely. Um, that's not bad. That's two decent artists. Tell us about QED off the album LFF 174 and what it
Q
took.
E QED LFF 174.
Yeah.
Okay, so LFF 174 wasn't really a beat I rapped over. It was more of a beat I was making for a contest r slash making hip hop was making, called Lo-Fi Flip.
Mhm.
And the way Lo-Fi Flip worked was, it was just a sample flipping challenge. You just had to make your beat lo-fi.
Mm. That's good. So you make beats. What kind of software you use to record? What kind of DAWs and stuff of that nature?
So the DAWs that I use for recording my vocals, I use Audacity, and then just link that up with the Kotelnikov compressor and the VD's de-esser.
Okay.
And then for making beats, I used to use Mixcraft, because I thought FL Studio was way too out there for me.
Yeah.
But then I just ended up moving to FL Studio, which is what I'm currently using now. I'm using a cracked version of FL Studio
Yeah.
because I felt like Mixcraft was a little bit too clunky, and plus I also got myself a new MIDI controller.
Yeah.
So FL Studio seems to work best with that.
Yeah. Tell us a little about Don't Go.
Don't go. Okay. Well, it was kind of the same thing as Speak Up Please, except I kind of made a little bit of an exception there where I was where where when I was first listening to the beat, I the melody was just something that really caught on with me, so I thought, "Hey, why not do a hook first, then return to the verses later, and then record the entire thing, hook, verse, hook, outro, all in one take,
Mhm.
all in one take, all in one take. I'm still waiting on Dolly Soul and I were supposed to be doing a remix of that. I don't know how far he's gone. I just need to talk to him a little bit more
Yeah.
and see if we can get that on the road.
Absolutely. How would you describe your group from when you first started making music to now?
Okay, so the way I the way I would say my music is like is that initially with projects like Just Delete This, Dominance Over Masochism, Mein Bildungsroman, all those sorts of projects,
Hmm.
I would say they're more slam poetry than anything because you can tell that the lyrics don't quite exactly fit on the beat, or they're usually sounding very, very rushed or not that confident.
Yeah.
And then there was a point in time where when I made Slim to Go White, Sound Soul Mind and Body, From the Rumble House with Love, I went through this sort of lo-fi mellow phase where I was trying to make content that I felt like had loads of punchlines people could catch up on,
Yeah.
but but I just wasn't in quite the mood space because of some personal stuff that was going on. I wasn't in quite the right mood space to actually focus on it, so I went through a whole lo-fi mellow thing to keep me focused when I was making those.
Yeah.
And then when I made um Chef's Kitchen, Crossroads, and now I'm currently working on an album by the name of Mark 10. It's more me working on trying to figure out how to make my music kind of like um a cross between what early day Joyner Lucas did off of his albums, like whatever the album was he did with Winter Blues and I'm Sorry, um that one, and then mix it with a little bit of World War Me from King Iso's discography and a little bit of Token's later stuff.
Yeah.
So because now I'm starting to have more of a steady footing compared to all the preceding albums I have.
Yeah. What inspired you to start making music from the start?
So the way I started making music was I had an assignment in school way back in 8th or ninth grade, I think. And we just had to do some sort of performance, and I just ended up coming across a very funny shit post involving Eminem's music video "Not Afraid," and then a friend of mine showed me the actual song, and I thought, hey, why not cover that?
Mm.
So then I just ended up covering that as a performance. Then I started getting into things like covering for school dances and whatnot because I thought that was very fun. And eventually I thought, hey, I know I can't do this forever.
Mm.
So I thought, why not try writing a little bit, and then eventually I'll start looking into a mic and see what I can record.
Absolutely. You got any people you want to shout out? Let the people know what you got going on in the future. Let them know where they also can find your music at.
So um so I'd like to give a shout out to I Can Cook Beats, Kazi Music, Dolly Soul, Indigo White, everyone else in between. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the help. And pretty much just being my anchor for the entirety of my musical journey. and what I'm currently working on right now, Mark 10, is an album where each track is supposed to be reminiscent of a preceding album that I had. For example, the first track will represent my debut album, second track will represent my second album and the sort of tones that come across with it. Last track will represent the album that I end up releasing next week, which is Mark 10. And for those who don't know, you can find my music under D.O.M of D&D. You can find my music under D&D Records Official. You'll know when you figure out the logo, and you can also read my lyrics on Genius too. I always try to put my lyrics up on Genius every so often, just to make sure, just to provide a little bit of context behind my lyrics.
Absolutely. What do you want people that listen to your music to take from it?
I want I just I honestly just want I just all I want from my music is I just want people to I just want people to think, "Hey, he's good. Hey, he's someone who will be put up next to the greats. Hey, I know we said he was corny. I know we said he was like a rapper from Saturday Night Live. I just want him to know I'm sorry for all of the shit talking and whatever. You're actually good. You've proven us wrong. I just want I want people to take away from my music. Hey, he's so clever with all of these punchlines. He knows what he's talking about, and he doesn't ever want to play. You know.
Yeah. I know you did a lot of ciphers. Tell us about these ciphers that you have done and Future in, because you have a lot of cipher verses also. Tell us about that process and how you go about doing all the ciphers.
So the way I end up doing the ciphers is I just end up looking through the threads of r slash making hip hop weekly. I try and figure out the theme. The theme for this week is just punchlines.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I end up doing it is I just listen to the beat, I start scatting a little bit, and then I just start writing something I think is similar down to the beat. If it's no theme, I'll just think of whatever lines are going on in my head. Like if I'm saying, in order to go robbing your fam, I go Jason Todd on your ass. If it's a no theme cipher, I'll just jot that down and then just think of whatever things are similar to Robin and Jason Todd, Red Hood, Batman, Joker, whatever, just as long as I'm able to rhyme and people are able to catch on. And then I start repeating the process over and over and over again. However, if it's something very particular, I'll try and think of something that relates to the theme. For example, if the theme for this week is punchline, so um I'll just try and think of as many puns as I can, and then try and think of some sort of context behind it. So for example, if I say, if you got to get some if I were to say, to some degree, like a master's tool, you're just a bachelor fool. I try and think of the setup, which is the degree and then the master and then the bachelor, two reveals in a couple of lines. And then I just try and start thinking, what else can go with degree? Oh, angles. Oh, acute, obtuse. And then just think of words very similar to that, and then just repeat the process.
Absolutely. Like I told y'all, man, if y'all ain't following his music, if y'all not following DOM of D&D, then you missing out on good music. I didn't ask him what his name stand for, so I'm gonna have him break it down for us a little bit so y'all can understand where his name come from. So let him know where your name come from and what DOM means.
So so DOM is actually an acronym for my real name, which I'm not going to say for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
So DOM is just an acronym I made out of my real name,
yeah,
or my full name. And then D&D was supposed to be something me and my friend were initially supposed to do way back before Just Delete This, but we had a falling out. but we ended up having a falling out shortly thereafter. So it's just me running D&D.
So, yeah, definitely, man. You was telling me about the fallout. I know y'all had the fallout and had the situations happen that happened. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I just wanted to break that down for the people and let them know where the name came from. But it was a pleasure having you on, man.
Oh, I'm
Um,
glad you could invite me. This was fun to do.
Yeah, it was very dope interview, man. I learned a lot. It's Chop It Up podcast, man. It's your boy Hawklyfe. Chop it up. Once again, before we get here, though, thank you to my special guest, DOM. You know what I'm saying? Calvary, Canada is in the building. DOM, the DND. You know what I'm saying? Check out his music on all platforms, SoundCloud, YouTube, etc. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't on the wave, you're gonna get washed by. You know what I'm saying? Straight like that. It's Chop It Up podcast, your boy Hawk. Like, yeah, yeah.